Okay, we are live, we are alive, and we are present, and we are woke. And Jesse's in the house. How you doing, Jesse? Play some music for me while we start the show on IG. Hey, Cecile, how are you doing, my dear sister?
Hey, I'm good, my brother. How are you,
Good.
Mr. Amazon bestseller?
Okay, wait. Let me. Yeah, on Instagram it shows well. Let me see if I can do it. Yeah, here we
There you
go.
go, Mr.
Spiritual
Amazon
appetizer.
bestselling author.
Bite-sized wisdom for daily living. You know.
hmm I
Woo!
just gotta say, I am so happy for you, and I am so proud of you, and I am happy to be on here live with you to celebrate.
Hmm. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
hmm
You know, I think I'm beginning to take it in because as I listen to you say, I'm just so proud of you. It's like I feel like I can feel that statement more now.
hmm
I think I've went through. I am one of a few men or many men I don't know that talk about birthing as if I birthed a physical child, but somehow
Okay.
I do feel like I have an idea what that's like, and
hmm
sometimes watching different things about women giving birth, home birth, and while the baby is still trying to come out, crowning and everything. Once the baby comes out, they hug the baby, and they're just like, can I just sit here? And everybody else like, oh, come look at your brother, come look at your sister. And the mother just holding the baby, says, I love you, but calm. And that's how I've really been. And it just like, hey,
Oh.
Christina. And I've just been like, just calm about it. And
hmm
this morning with Christine, I was saying to her that I just feel satisfied.
Yes.
Like, and this interesting theme that I have, it's like I find myself saying, I did it.
hmm
I did it.
Well,
And it's,
that's the what I sent you. Sent you this morning, or was it
mhm.
last night? I said you did the thing.
Yes, you did. You did. It's so weird. In my conversation with Christine today, it's like, it's not that I really doubted I could do it. I knew and felt I could do it,
hmm
but will I do it?
Right. But actually
That
getting
was
to
the
the
thing.
finish line is
Yes.
different than like knowing, yeah, I could do that, but actually getting there and being done with it and then being successful and being like number one in the meditation category. That I mean, all of that is having it complete is something different than knowing you can do it. But saying I did it and it's done, and I
Yeah.
did it well, that's
Yes.
different. Yeah.
And it's such an interesting experience, and I'm learning so much. There's Christine here in Instagram, and she had asked a question earlier this morning. It keeps coming up, and I'm thinking I'm not going to repeat that, but it keeps coming up, so I guess I'm supposed to repeat it. And I'm like, I don't want to be that vulnerable, but I will. I'm what I was going to say first is I noticed that it's like I'm coming into this new awareness of something,
hmm
like a new understanding of myself,
hmm
seeing myself from a different perspective. And one of the things that one of the things that I was sharing this morning in my conversation with Christine, well, actually we had talked about it a few days ago. And when I wrote it, I was all excited, and I thought, just vaguely thought maybe it'd be like I don't know, 150 pages, but because some people designing it, I've been going back and forth, and like, how many pages is it? I'm like, maybe 100 to 150 pages.
hmm
I didn't really have an idea what that looked like. I just thought it's going to be pretty thick.
hmm
And so anyway, when I finally got somebody to design it, and I sent it off, and they sent it back after doing all the layouts, and it was 94 pages. I was like, what? 94 pages? I'm like, okay, let's see if I can find some more. I mean, I have stuff I could put into it, but I
hmm
just did not want to do that. And then
hmm
I kind of just said, okay, it is what it is. And for a long
hmm
time, I struggled with the size of it. It's like, you know,
Well,
I was like, this is not a lot. And then I actually thought people, okay, so, when we're dealing with our own stuff, we start projecting. Let me
mhm,
speak for myself. When I'm dealing with my stuff, I start projecting. I'm like, people are
mhm.
going to buy like, is that it? Is that it? And the thing is,
If that's it, that's enough,
yes.
right?
And if
Okay.
I was telling somebody else that, I will be so grounded in that truth. But
Mhm.
my lived experience was like, yes, it's enough, but it would be good if it's 100, at least 100. And there's some other things
But
that I had to tell
why?
you.
Why is 100 the number?
I'm going to tell you why. I didn't know
Okay.
why, but I the answer for me came later, which was
Mm-hmm.
quite powerful, and it's just reorganizing, refining how I see myself and how I see life.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, see my hands and my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking about it. My beloved Keisha, I was talking to her. She's like, "Honey, you wrote the book.
Right.
You took your thoughts, your words, you put in the book, and you wrote it. That's worth celebrating." She said,
Mm-hmm.
I always tell you how you write." I'm like, "Yes, I know."
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation did help. It took the anxiety down. So maybe it was maybe about 9. It took it down to maybe about 4. So I was
Mm-hmm.
still working with that. And about a couple of days ago, maybe 2 days ago, I was in the shower and I noticed that I still have like, "Ugh, what are people going to think? What are people going to think?"
Mm-hmm.
And in the shower is another place for me where I meditate because I
Mm-hmm.
receive
Got
information.
water.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Spirit said, "You're focusing on quantity instead of quality."
Ah, okay.
Ain't that something?
Mm-hmm.
And it hit me. I was like, "Oh." And I started to see that statement just had me look at my own life and my own work and
Mm-hmm.
myself. Like, yeah, the places where I focus on quantity instead of quality. So when
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling less than, when I'm comparing myself, it's because I've now gone into quantity instead of the quality of who
Right.
I am,
Right.
quality of who I've been created to be. And if I
Mm-hmm.
spend more time focusing
Mm-hmm.
on the quality of the
Mm-hmm.
essence of who I am, some of
Mm-hmm.
the BS that I've been dealing with in the past, I wouldn't have to be dealing with that.
Right. Right.
That's one of the main
And six
lessons.
six pages just to have six more pages doesn't mean anything if it's not adding anything.
And Christine said, "Look at our book." She said, "We have
Right?
18 authors, and we have 100, 132,
What?
154, or something
Hold
like
on.
that."
Look.
Oh,
Yep. It's 18 of us. And she's right. Hold on. This is 132 pages with 18 people. So,
yes.
yep.
And she said, "If you're going to compare yourself up, compare yourself." I was like, I like that. I
Mm-hmm.
like that. But it's
Mm-hmm.
been a lesson. I think this whole thing about creating something, having an idea, working with it, and massaging it. If we surrender to it, we become more. If we allow it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if we're willing to see, to accept that, yes, even though I didn't know it then, the way it was framed, that I was focusing on quantity instead of
Mm-hmm.
quality. But
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to see, I wanted to understand, I wanted to have that breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so I'm grateful for that experience. And as we're
Mm-hmm.
saying, you're one of the authors of the book, Woman Connected in Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first time that's your first book. You've done some other books before, right?
Yeah, I've published two coloring books, but this is the first book where
You're
I
right.
wrote piece. Yeah. That's the first book where I wrote a chapter. So yeah.
So
Hmm.
writing the chapter, what was that like for you?
Oh, I had a hard time with it because I was wondering what everybody else was gonna write.
And if yours matches up to what they're going
Right.
to write.
Does mine match up to what they were talking about? Did I get too personal? Because I started with the personal piece and then went into the social wellness, which is what I teach. And so I wrote about like kind of like my origin story, and I was up until it was published and I could see what everybody else wrote. I was like, I don't know if what I wrote was right, if it was good enough, it was like if it was too much, if it was too personal, I don't know. But then when I read the whole book, I was like, oh, mine fit right in there perfectly. It was in just the right spot. So yeah, it wasn't until it was published and I read the whole thing that I was like, oh yeah, what I did was just right.
I feel you. I
So,
can identify.
mhm.
Isn't that interesting, though? I mean, I think it's sometimes I feel like we can be so critical of that way of being
Yeah.
because I know I've done it.
Hmm.
And we can say, yeah, why do we do that? We just be comparing because we don't love ourselves enough, because we got this. Is it, but
It's that feeling of uncertainty. I think that's what it is.
uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Because for me, writing is it's a birthing, but it's a vulnerable experience.
Mhm.
Like I'm I'm taking something. Well, I'm writing my memoir as well, and I write my journal.
Mhm.
So this is slightly different. How it all came. It just quotes that came to me. Sometimes
Mhm.
in meditation, while I'm on the show, working with a client. It's like, ooh, I like that. I can use that, and it's
Mhm.
coming through me. But the memoir, when I work on that, when I'm journaling, it's like I'm writing what I'm hearing in my thoughts. Just
Right.
writing it. Just
Mhm.
write it. Not because someone told me, not because someone said this is the best word.
Mhm.
So with my journal, I'm usually comfortable because it's just me that's going to see it, unless I
Right.
choose to share with anybody else.
Mhm.
But the idea of going into that invisible, making invisible visible, like,
Mhm.
and then other people are going to see it, and does it make sense? It is a
Right.
vulnerable process.
Well, I'll tell you, I write a blog almost every week. I've taken like the last month off, but I write a blog post almost every week. And I can write a blog post and think nothing of it. I'll write and, post that thing every Wednesday. But then the thought of writing it to go in a book where it was going to be printed and people were going
Mm.
to, hang on to it, there was something about that felt different.
Tell
So
me, I mean, do you know what that is? Because it was like the blog post is the same thing. You put it out there to the world, and it
I
because
know, but there was something different about it. I guess well, one, probably because it was a collaborative project and I was still like, I don't know what everybody else is writing. I don't know. And I think the blog post is probably easier because it's sort of like journaling. I write about, current events and social justice and human rights and all that kind of stuff, but it's my opinion. And if somebody doesn't like it, oh well, I put it out there and people can agree or not. And I know that the people who follow me, tend to agree with me and say, thank you and all that kind of stuff. And so I kind of have more confidence about that because, I'm just putting my thoughts out there and, people who are going to agree with me are going to be the ones who are drawn to it. And then I go into this collaboration with Christine and what it was me, Christine, and 16 other women on this book, and it just, I don't know why it felt scarier, but it did. But I'm glad I did it though. It was totally worth it. Yeah.
mm-hmm. It's interesting because what I'm noticing now as I listen to you, for me, it's like, okay, you write daily thoughts, me talking to myself is out there. And then a
Mhm.
part of it's like, well, yes, I write it for Hillside. It's still my words. It gets edited in some places. There was a
Mhm.
kind of safety in that.
Right,
Like,
having that go between.
yes, like,
Yeah.
you know, most people may not know who wrote, they just think it's from Hillside, right?
Mhm.
Even though it has our name, though the authors. Then I
Mhm.
say, well, but you out there talking, sharing your beliefs, your thoughts, and all these things that you have on here, you've said them out loud before, something similar. What's the
Mhm.
problem? It's like, well, because when you say it like this, people could hear it and then forget. But
Right.
when you write it
Right.
here, it's here. So it's
Right.
like, oh, I was going through all. I
Mhm.
just had to really talk myself off the leg. Just like, okay, you're meant
Yeah.
to do this. You're meant to
Yeah.
do this. So
You
it's been
were. I mean, when you said you were going to do it, you got to work. You knew you were going to do it, and all the feelings that you had on the way, you were like, I'm nervous, but it didn't stop you from working. You were like, okay, this part is scary, and you still kept working, and you were like, I know I need to do this, and I'm not exactly sure what the next step is, but you still kept taking the next step. Once you
yeah.
got started, you did not stop.
Yes, I was determined. And it's funny because I was going to tell you what really did it for me. And my sister, Carolyn Renee's here. She just did, she said, congratulations,
Yay.
Ade, and put a Nigerian flag, which
Okay.
is interesting because I'm part of something. Let me just say it like that because we can't say much about it. And it
Hmm.
was a group of Nigerians who were born here.
Hmm.
After that retreat, I was like, oh yeah, it's like something that was missing. I
Hmm.
don't know what it was. Well, I know what it was because up until then, I even though I was much closer to really embracing the idea that yes, I've been gone from Nigeria for such a long time. I was born here,
Hmm.
and I went back to Nigeria. I went to Nigeria with my parents, age 4, and I was there till I was 18. And I
Hmm.
haven't been back. I'm 55. So
Okay.
I struggled with I've been gone for so long. I wouldn't think, am I Nigerian enough? I've been
You are
so settled.
Nigerian.
Well, the mind is an
Yeah.
interesting thing to play
Oh
with.
yeah.
It's like some of the cultures, things doesn't work for me anymore. But after
Mhm.
that retreat and the experience that we went through, I just made a commitment with myself that I'm going to complete this book. And I think
Mhm.
what happened is I settled in myself in the
Mm.
way that I'm experiencing myself as a Nigerian man born in UK who feels
Mhm.
more at home in America. Like there
Right.
was a this is me.
Right.
This is me. Take me as I am, because I'm going to
Mhm.
take me as I am. I'm actually
Mhm.
taking myself as I am.
That's right.
And I made a commitment. I'm going to get it done. You're right. There was quite a few obstacles, but I was like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep
Mhm.
going. I'm going to keep going. And
I
to go,
watched you do that. It was like every time you hit something, you would be like, I don't know about this, but I'm gonna take the next step. This makes me nervous,
yes,
but I'm gonna take the next step. You did not
yes.
stop. And I admire that. I was watching you do it and I was like, go attack, go attack.
You can do it. You can do it. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
And thank you for your love, for your support, for joining me
always.
in this conversation. And you all
Always.
have a book signing tomorrow, right? Or
Yes,
something,
this is our first group book signing tomorrow in Atlanta.
right?
I can't remember the name of the place. Look, I'm
Mm,
not from here. Look, I drove down, came down on the train from Virginia so that I could be here with my co-authors. So we have this event tomorrow, and we're going to have a chance to present and talk about whatever aspect of the 8 dimensions of wellness, where that's our expertise. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about social wellness, and the way that I teach anti-oppression work. Anybody who follows me, they already know about how I teach people to make everyday activism a habit. And the 4 pillars that I use, self-care is always number one. Then know your
mm,
facts, undo the work, get out there and actually make some change, and then rest and rejoice. And so tomorrow in my presentation, I'm going to talk about that very briefly. And then we are going to get all in on the self-care. And I'm going to teach people how to draw freehand mandalas. That is like one of the things that I do for relaxation. And so many people think that they're not an artist. And so everybody who shows up, we're just gonna draw freehand and they are gonna leave with a piece of artwork and we're gonna be doing some breathing. So they are gonna be so relaxed and leave with a beautiful piece of art ah, and have a new technique that they can use for
I
their
love.
self-care.
Yeah, so you are going to be at Overture, Overture Buckhead. Calvin
Okay.
Renee just told me. Yeah, and I'm on your
Yeah,
website.
Buckhead sounds familiar, but like I said,
Yes.
I just got to Atlanta and I'm riding with people who are from here. I don't know where I'm going.
Right, right. If you get a call and they just drop you, won't even know what is going on. It's like, I
No,
don't
they
know how
dropped
to.
me somewhere. I don't know where I am. Mm-mm.
And the book is called Women Connected in
Oh,
Wisdom,
yep. There
um,
you go.
Stories and Resources Rooted in the 8 Dimensions of
Oop.
Wellness.
Yep.
Beautiful. And so if y'all want
Okay.
to see
Thank you.
Carolyn Renee, you're going to be there tomorrow? I think you are. I think I
Yes,
saw
she's gonna
something
be
on.
there.
Yep,
My
Carolyn
sister
Renee is
Carolyn
going to be
Renee is
there.
gonna be there.
And I think Christine said that the information's on IG. Women Connected in Wisdom is a
Yes,
social
I
media
know it's up
handle.
on Instagram. I saw that today. The Women
Okay.
Connected in Wisdom Instagram account has that information. I'm sure it's probably on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. I'm sure they put it on all three.
Yeah, because
Hmm.
Christine is a social media queen.
Oh, yes, she is.
She is. Before we go, if someone, it's based on what you said, some people think they're not an artist. That's a whole different show conversation.
Everybody's an artist. We're all creators.
Everyone, we're
Yeah.
all creative beings.
Hmm.
What would you say to somebody who's thinking about writing a book, started a book, stopped, or whatever? What would you say to them if they're like, "Yeah, I think I write it," or maybe people are feeling like, "I've always thought about it, but I don't think anybody will read my story."
I would say, oh my goodness. Okay, you just asked me the question right there. You just touched a nerve because I would always tell people, okay, my background is in public relations, and I used to work for a library system, and one of the things that I did was actually create their adult programming and community programming, and I used to come up with all these programs to get people into the library, and the one thing that always brought people was having somebody who wanted to tell their story. when I
Mm.
would bring in, like, okay, we're going to focus on the cultures of the city, and we would talk about the culture. We'd have somebody bring the food, we'd highlight a book, we'd have somebody like bring in the art or do music from that culture. Whenever somebody was willing to go public and tell their story, that's when people showed up. So
Oh
if you
wow.
have a story to tell and you think nobody wants to hear it, you're fooling yourself, because people love to connect with other people. That's how we connect, by sharing our stories. So if you've got something to say, go ahead and write it and say it, because that's how we connect, and people want to hear about other people. That's how we know we're human, because we
That's
share
it.
that, and then we don't feel so alone. So if you've got a story, write it. If you've got a story and you want to share it, tell it. That's what I would say.
Ooh, yes, you're right up my alley, as you know. Yes.
Yeah.
Life is a never ending story. Life,
Yes.
everything about life is a never ending story.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't tell our stories, other people will tell their stories, and they'll tell their stories for us because they think
Oh,
that's the way we should live that story. And because
right,
it's a story, we hook into their story unconsciously and
right,
believe we're not good enough because we're listening to somebody else who was courageous enough or just silly enough or whatever we want to say
right.
to tell the
Mm-hmm.
story based on how they see it. We owe it to
Mm-hmm.
ourselves.
Yeah,
Woo!
we owe it to ourselves to tell our stories. You
Yes.
are absolutely right. Mm-hmm.
This is part of my story, spiritual appetizer for the soul, bite-sized
Yes.
wisdom, daily living. You open up to a page. You don't have to read from beginning to the end.
Now,
If you
did you
want
put the link up on the screen so people can get it? Because right now is the push for the right,
yeah, the
because it
bestseller,
just
right?
dropped today, right? You're already a
Yeah, today.
bestseller, but people still can get access to it right now, right? The ebook.
That's true. Thank you
Yeah.
for
So don't forget to
reminding
put
me.
that out there.
Yeah, get your copy.
Exactly.
Let me put this as a long A link because I wanted to create a short link, but I ain't gonna worry about that. Sometimes it's called doing too much. Just give them the
That's all
link.
right.
Don't matter how long
Just
it is.
put it up
Focus on
there
the
so they can see it.
quality of it, not the
That's
quantity, not how
right.
long the link is. And
Mm-hmm.
so, for those who are listening, if you want to join Carolyn Renee, Christine, Cecile, and all the other writers, authors, is Overture Buckhead. Is 658 Lindbergh Drive. I know that area very well. Northeast Atlanta 30324. Yeah, 30324. That's so basically, y'all just hanging out. Well, so I'll say like this: Carolyn Renee, they're just hanging out with you, right? They're just hanging out with you.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Cecile, thank you very much for sharing your story, for joining me, and this was good.
Thank
We
you
can
for
keep going if
inviting
we
me.
don't
I'm
stop.
excited to be up here with you. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
congratulations. I am so proud of you.
Thank you, my dear sister. Go get your copy. The ebook for now is until Saturday, and then
Hmm.
Sunday the paperback will be available, and the ebook would not be the price that it is right now. So if you
Okay.
really want it, it's going up, go
All right.
move it
So
on
you
up.
want to get the discounted version? Get it today,
You,
right?
you better.
That's right.
Love and
All right.
blessings.
Love you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.